Handling rejection, mistakes, and setbacks. The fear of rejection is the one underlying reason why many people unknowingly might stay away, shy away from opening up, saying no, speaking their mind, opening up, and improving their connection skills, or maybe what we call social skills. So the fear of rejection will be at the top of many of the fears that many people struggle with. People fear being embarrassed in the process of getting turned down. People fear getting the message that they're not good enough. Nobody wants to get that kind of message. The fear of having to feel worse about themselves, the fear of making a mistake or experiencing a setback that will bring about those feelings of discouragement and unworthiness. It's something that everyone needs to work on. Why, you might ask? Because there's so much more freedom, there's so much more fun, and there's so much more life beyond any fears. Also, if you remain too afraid of rejection, your life will be stagnant. And I'll call it, your life will be stagnant in a bubble of fears where you are not free to get out of that bubble and become the best version of yourself. In case this is your first time listening to any of my audiobooks or Dose of Motivations, my name is DrStem. The full name is Stembile Mahlatini. I am a life coach, a counselor, as well as a motivational speaker. And my goal and love is to inspire, encourage, and empower others to become the best version of themselves. So let's face it, too many of the things that you need to do to improve your life, whether it's personal, professional, or success, have an element of risk that we have to take. Starting conversations with people, expressing your opinions, opening up, all those are worthy risks that in the end might even help us to know ourselves even better and deeper, but it allows us to spread our wings even further. This audio won't be an unrealistic audio that will be trying to tell you that rejection and mistakes are no big deal. I'm not going to be trying to tell you that you will not feel the pain or that you can learn to completely get over them. Because I can tell you that, yes, it hurts to be rejected. It hurts to suffer a setback. We all get nervous when we have to take any risks. No one is totally able to totally ignore the pain of being rejected or feeling the pain of being resented when they have been, rejected. However, I can say some people have learned to handle rejection more than others. And this is my hope for you as you're listening to this audio, that you'll be one of those people that will be able to figure out or find ways that work for you to handle rejection, mistakes, and setbacks better. But most of all, my hope is that you embrace change and embrace handling rejection, mistakes, and setbacks as a way to free yourself to experience life at a whole new level when you are feeling like you are becoming the best version of yourself. The people that handle rejection better than others are able to bounce back from being rejected. They're able to frame it more constructively, and they just won't let it affect their self-image for as long as they, as some people could or will do. They just know that yes, it hurts, but they're able to let it go. So in this audio, we'll talk about 3 subtopics: how you naturally become more able to handle rejection as you have more success, how dealing with fear of rejection can free you. We'll also talk about ways to recover from a rejection once it happens, because yes, it is going to happen. So let's begin talking about the characteristics or personalities of those people who are not great at dealing with the rejection. People who have a hard time with rejection tend to have one or all of the following applying to them. They fear being rejected. They fear being liked or loved. Every rejection, mistake, or setback rocks them to the core and makes them feel flawed and unworthy. They feel they've already been rejected many times in the past, and they fear rejection. And they also fear that they can't take it anymore after those many times that they've been rejected. They feel that all rejection is horrible and that ideally they shouldn't ever be subjecting themselves to being rejected. They feel they have to make everyone they meet accept them, embrace them, love them, and just like them. They feel like getting rejected or making mistakes is really embarrassing, and it's also painful in the moment that it happens. They think that their rejections will haunt them forever and hinder their future efforts forever. They think that they'll be humiliated in the moment, but many people will remember that moment and never make them forget it, and they'll never be able to leave without remembering the moment that they were rejected. So they avoid it at all times, at all cost. They think one or a handful of rejections are a sign that their situation is totally hopeless and helpless. So they give up. They may get resentful and bitter the more times that they try something and then they're rejected. And then they overgeneralize and develop this negative attitude towards the entire category of certain people that they believe are out to hurt them or are out to, reject them or to set them back. And additionally, some people may even be hardwired to be more sensitive to rejection, that in every situation, in every person, they're always on the watch of being rejected. On the other hand, people who have an easier time with rejection, those who deal better with rejection will fit this description. Their resistance to rejection and their ability to handle resistance always comes from them actually having had some experience, learned from it, dealt with rejection at some point in their life. And as a result, they're not totally immune to the sting of rejection. So it's not like they don't feel the pain, they don't feel the sting of rejection. They may still hesitate to face it. They may still feel down if someone is, someone has rejected them or someone is not receptive to them. They might feel the sting of it, but their confidence and comfort with facing rejection, is higher than their fear of being rejected. And the confidence goes up and down as well. But overall, they have more internal control of how they deal with rejection, mistakes, and setback. They're not necessarily the world's most popular people, but they've had success in the social world. They have friends. They also have people that know that, what you see is what you get. And they are able to open up and tell you exactly what they're feeling and what they want and what they don't want. So some people might not embrace this, honesty in a good way, but they understand that not everyone is going to understand or to embrace the fact that, you know what, there are people that have learned to speak up. They do not hesitate being themselves, being open and taking chances. If someone rejects them, they've had the life experience. So they truly can think, whatever. I've already had friends who are way better than this person, or I've said to people that have embraced the same message, and I've had people that have said, good things about who I am and what I do. So it's okay for other people to have their own opinion. They've been rejected and made mistakes before many times. So they have seen firsthand that they can survive it. That's key. And it doesn't ultimately get in the way of them having a good life, having an opportunity to meet, people, connect with people. They understand that rejection or past mistakes will not hold them back. Past experiences has told them that if they keep at it, they'll hit their goals eventually, they'll get used to it eventually, and people will forget what they did eventually. They have an abundance, in the way that they think. Their mental status is always about, taking care of how they think, how they feel, and how they respond, which is different from reactions. And if you have worked with me as your counselor or your coach, you will remember that I'm always talking about reaction and responding. Reaction meaning we get into that mode where we are defensive, it's hurtful, we are avoiding, and response means we are more into solution focused. We are more into changing the way that we look at things so that the things that we look at can change. So they also know that if they are rejected, it's not about them. It's the other person's opinion. It's the other person's choice. And it takes nothing away from them. People who handle rejection better, here's the thing, they also develop more healthy attitudes towards rejection. And what do I mean by that? They know when someone doesn't walk the walk, doesn't want to talk to them, they often can tell if they're being rejected and they don't continue to stay in the same place, to stay with the same people, and to expose themselves in that situation or environment. When they're rejected for real, they know it's not always a reflection of them. And maybe because the other person was having a bad day, or, they just didn't like the things that they have said, and that's on them. They know that they cannot always be a good match, especially if they're meeting someone for the first time. Let's say it's for a date and it's meeting someone for the first time, or it's for a job that they're interviewing. They just understand that it's not always going to be a good match for everyone, and it's okay. They know that rejection is part of the process of trying to do things and also trying to become the best version of themselves. They realize everyone gets rejected at times. So it doesn't matter whether, you have good looks, bad looks, tall, short, heavy set, skinny. They understand that everybody gets rejected. They realize that trying to avoid all rejection would mean embracing a safe, boring, people-pleasing life, as well as a bubble, a life that is lived in a bubble. They never can get experience of floating, of being free, of being fearless, of becoming unstoppable. They can't feel that if they live in the life of fear of rejection. So they understand that, and they choose to be themselves anyway. They realize that some rejections are a good thing because they learn something from it. They realize that no one else cares all that much. And in that sense, they realize that it's not even that important to involve everyone. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. They see that everyone, again, is trying to live their best life the best way that they can. And many a time it's not about them. So what they do is they instead see rejection as an opportunity to gain feedback and learn more from their mistake. So this is always a catch-22. And there'll always be some, catch-22 instances where, there'll always be some form of fear that we can and cannot handle at times. So here are my thoughts as to how you can bridge that, catch-22 that, okay, well, you're telling us that there are fears and we can handle them, and that there'll be fears, but then we need to learn how to handle them. So what are you saying? Well, I understand. Here are my thoughts. Get that first taste of success when you're trying to let things, not bother you for a long time, and you realize that you are able to manage your emotions, you are able to manage your response and move yourself from the reaction to the response state. The good thing about having the mentality where you're good at facing rejection is that once it takes hold, it tends to build on itself. So even if, it takes a while and you're trying, just continue to focus on doing it anyway and trying to build on your confidence of being able to speak up, of being able to take chances, of being able to open your heart and open yourself and build more confidence of self-love, but mostly self-belief, as well as becoming just the true, real you that you are. So as I say that, I'm just, thinking I also have to say, hear this, you don't want to base your self-esteem on whether you can become the most popular, charismatic, outspoken person, a person that takes chances, a person that deals with rejection well. You don't want to base your self-esteem on that. Take your time. You are who you are, and you can change to who you can become, and you can stay where you are if that's comfortable with you. Go easy on yourself. If you can get some small steps, then that commitment to just take a small step in a situation and take a chance will build your confidence and give you more momentum to taking big and bigger steps or changes. Take your time and try at your pace when you're ready to do what's comfortable for you. Because getting that first bit of success and handling that first batch of rejections or, fears, going beyond your fears, I'm telling you, I enjoy when someone finally figures it out and said, oh, I'm in control of what I do and don't do, what I allow and not allow. It's all up to me. It's priceless to see that. So try to adopt a healthy attitude towards rejections or towards difficult situations and moments that might trigger some fear in you. Because even though I have mentioned that, there are many productive, healthy ways toward the rejection, remember what I also said, that it doesn't eliminate you from totally, not having fearful moments or, moments that might trigger a little bit of anxiety. But with a changed attitude, it will change the way that you respond to it. There will be less reactions. So as you face your fear of rejection, like with other types of fears, the best way to get past a fear of rejection is to face it, learn firsthand, and then handle it. Put yourself in situations where there's a risk, that you're taking of just getting out of your comfort zone. So start with the ones that feel easier and more manageable. I encourage you to write in your journal, what, step can I take towards, getting out of my bubble of fearing rejection today? What can I do? What can I say? Who can I call? Who can I talk to? What small step can I do? Even just listening to this year is a big step for you that you have taken towards facing fear of rejection. When you confront your fears, by definition, what that means, right? You're going to be getting more of those situations where you're fearful, but then it gives you an opportunity of handling those situations in a whole different way. It also means that you've got to get yourself to being used to situations where it might go well, it might go bad, I might be rejected or I might be embraced, and then I might be embraced and then rejected after I've been embraced. And I mean, the cycle can go on, but I'm good with whatever happens because I am able to embrace the situation, but most of all to manage how I respond and also my emotions. I've got to be a healthy, person that is capable of dealing even with negative messages and situations that come my way. That could be a best way of, cognitively changing the way that you deal with situations of rejections or even making mistakes, making past mistakes is what I want to say. When you're making the change, you also want to make sure that your attitude towards being rejected has changed, that you're looking at it not from a fear point, but from a manageable point, from the perspective that, I will be afraid, but I will be able to also figure out a way to deal with it. So by now you might be thinking, I've also been rejected a ton of times, DrStem. You have no idea. So I now know and realize rejection is a part of life, but then it's almost like, I don't want to deal with it. I know. So I would tell you that even for me, as a person who is a coach, a counselor, I'm an author, I write about these things I have been rejected a ton of times myself. I also know and understand the pain that rejection brings. But what I know for sure is it's a part of life. I found that there's a big difference when you have information about what you need to do, also what you have control over. There's a big difference because then all of a sudden, I know that those situations and moments will come my way again in life. I can't avoid it, but I'm dealing with it in a much different way right now because then my attitude has changed. So expect rejection and prepare for it ahead of time, just by saying it's going to happen, but I'm not anticipating it in every situation and being suspicious of every person that they're going to be rejecting me or they're out to get me now. But what it is when you're prepared to understand that if and when it happens, it's not about you, but it's about how you receive and deal with that situation. You may be thinking, well, expecting rejection ahead of time is my whole problem. And anticipating that rejection will come my way makes me feel worse and not more in control. Well, this suggestion may not apply to everyone, what I'm talking about, right? Because then, as I said, be you, be yourself, and deal with it the best way that works for you. So what what I've been sharing is general information that we all have to just take bits and pieces of it and see what works for us. If it doesn't work, then don't do it in that manner, in that sense. Rejection often is not a bad thing as much as we might think that it is. So I totally realize also that some rejections are hard to take. And I'll talk about several suggestions for dealing with that. But sometimes, again, we'll dread a possible rejection ahead of time. And then it actually happens, and then it hits us hard because we were not prepared to deal with it. We were just afraid that it might happen. So some people even may say, no, rejection is as bad as I imagine it is. Well, that's what you're going to attract as well. It will be bad each time that it comes, and you won't be able to handle it in that way. But if you say to yourself, it has been, like I'm saying now, it has been a thing that I couldn't handle, but now I have a good handle of it because I have a good handle of my emotions and the way that I respond. That's what I have a good handle of it. Not, control of what could happen as far as the rejection is concerned, but hey, if it happens, I know how to take care of STEM, and I know how to, have an attitude of, I can deal with this. Because in the long run, rejection will start to affect you less and less when you've got a good grasp of how you best manage it, right? So let's say, for an example, if we want to talk about, rejection, right? Or being afraid of being let down. Say a bunch of coworkers, say they want to meet up for drinks in the evening, and 4 of them say they can't make it. So we may not give it a second thought and say, okay, I'll go with the ones that said yes. Or we can start coming up with all these reasons why the other 4 wouldn't come with me. And what that one, I know she doesn't like me, or that one, I know he said this about me, and I know this. So that now becomes our way of reacting to it rather than responding to it. Because responding to it says, hey, I have control of what I do, and I have control of what I say and feel, but I don't have control over what other people's reactions, feelings, may be. I don't have control over that. So if somebody says, no, sorry, I can't go, that's fine. I receive that. Or if they say, well, you know what, I just don't want to be, hanging out with you guys right now. That's fine. That's fine. That's their own opinion, and I'm okay with that. And if everybody doesn't want to, then I have to turn to other people on the outside to go hang out with me, rather than me focusing on, why would they, want to do this? And certainly you can ask them to say, is it about me? Is there something that I have said? And make sure if you ask that question that you're ready to hear the answers, because then they will tell you what the reason is. So be sure that you're ready to hear the answers. We don't like your attitude. We just don't like who you are. We just don't like, that's their opinion, but be ready to receive that. If you're not ready to receive that, then leave it alone. And leave it alone. All right. Again, if a rejection happens and you're feeling hurt, it's also possible for you to put a time frame that I will not let this bother me for more than an hour, 5 hours. This moment, whatever time frame that you can set in there, allow yourself to feel bad for, being rejected or not getting what you want, or people saying hurtful things and stuff, but put a limit to it. Put a limit to it, because it's up to you on how long that you allow other people, other situations and moments to hold you back, or to hold you hostage in a state where you feel sad and you feel angry. So I'm saying this with the exception of extreme traumas. Our minds are not good at getting things back, after extreme, trauma or experience. But if it's, rejections here and there that are not associated with trauma, the mind is very, very good at coming back around and allowing you to deal with it in a different way, to deal with that situation. So watch how you think and talk about, the moments that you get rejected, or that you're not, feeling as if you embraced, or, your emotions are feeling hurtful. Watch how you think about it and talk about it, because many people will want to talk to the whole world and tell them the situation over and over and over again. And when you do that, you're re-triggering your emotions and how you deal with it. So that doesn't serve you right. Find one person that you can talk to, maybe two people that you can talk to, and then put a cap on it again to say, you know what, I'm not going to continue talking about this situation, because then it's not helping me. It's making me more angry. It's making me more frustrated. It's making me more sad. So I'm going to, find things that help me feel good about it. Go do something really fun, exercise, talk to someone that makes you laugh, and, that is opening you up to, living, in that moment in a whole different way. But most of all, I want to encourage you to journal, journal, journal. Write down your feelings, write down your emotions. It's really relieving and very helpful to be able to write it down, and let all the emotions get on paper. It's always also better to step back and see any rejection from a different angle. For example, in a relationship, let's say, one could reframe things that happen in a relationship so that you're not feeling as if you're being rejected or triggered into feelings of being rejected. So let's say, and I'm going to talk about this from a perspective of, I'll say he, because I'm a female, so I'm going to give that, but all the examples can be used for both, male and females. So if I say he didn't want to talk to me because we just didn't have much in common, or I can say, well, we just didn't hit it off, right? That's one way of dealing with it, where it helps me to respond in that way if I've been rejected, rather than saying, well, he didn't want to talk to me because I was so awkward and I'm not as beautiful, as gorgeous as the other, girlfriends that he's dated, or the other people that, he's dated. And I don't think guys like that like me. I don't think that, guys that are successful like that like me, or guys that have that much education like me, or girls that have that much education like me. All that, right, can be changed into, well, we just didn't click and we're just different, and that's fine. Because I want to be with a person that can connect with me, that, also can talk to me, but, likes me, right? And that makes me feel better. So I'm glad that the rejection happened, because then I would want to have a person that actually really, really likes me, or is open to liking me. We can think of, he didn't invite me to the party because he didn't have my phone number, versus he didn't invite me to the party because he thinks I'm totally boring or I'm not his type. Woo, that would take you left so fast. I'm not his type, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, rather than, what, did I even exchange phone numbers with him? No. Oh, okay. Guess, that's the reason why you couldn't. Or sometimes he has the phone number, but he hasn't called. Again, don't wait on the phone. If he calls, lucky him. If he doesn't call, lucky him, lucky you. Because then you don't want a person that is not interested in you. And that's fine. Right? So always put the rejection in a whole different perspective, where you're not assuming the worst. Because rejection is a lot harder to take if you thought you blew, up the one good chance that you had with this person that didn't work out. If it was a good chance, it would have worked out. And it would have been, we wouldn't be talking about being rejected if it was a great chance. So it was a good chance whilst it lasted, but once it was gone, it's gone. Right? But I understand that ideally, just knowing that, I've been rejected can also take its own impact, its own toll, and, because then we are human and we feel like, well, people should embrace us. But that's a wrong assumption, I think, that many do, because then they're not, are supposed to like us. If they do, great. If they don't, great, because then we're not here to please everyone, neither are we here to be liked or loved by everyone. So give yourself credit for trying to, love yourself and trying to take, the risks to put yourself out there and be able to speak and tell people what your feelings are and what you like and what you enjoy and what you don't appreciate about, those moments. But if somebody rejects you and they're gone, let them go and deal with it and be able to say, you know what? Okay, I embrace that. Look for any opportunities to learn more about yourself, because being rejected can also be an opportunity for self-discovery and growth. Say you apply for a job, right? And you want to have, a great interview. You go, you have a great interview, but you don't get a job. This might be devastating, right? Because then you prepared and you saw yourself at this, place working for them and doing this. That's understandable. But after taking a second look at your resume, you might even see some typos that you put there. You might even see that there are probably experiences that you didn't add on there that match with that. And then these days, what I love about every job is all these employees, they're writing about every company that you can work for. There is something that is written on Google, and you Google that, and employees have gone to town talking about it, and you're like, oh, I'm glad I didn't get the job, right? But what happens is when you embrace that and you let it go, you also open up your heart and open up for those opportunities that are meant for you to open up. Because after a few months, maybe a few days, you'll also get a phone call for that very high paying position that you thought you were not qualified for, but they really like you and they want you and they hire you, and voila, you end up having the best job ever, the very same thing that you were thinking that I don't think I qualify for that one. And that happened to me many times when I was still working, many times. And then I realized that, oh, okay, I have to step back and not fight, for what I think should be mine, but I need to step back and wait on what is mine, because it was always the ideal thing that just blew my mind. Just blew my mind. So reframing your fear as a chance of growth can make it easier for you to try, and lessen the pain that you might feel when you fail. Try telling yourself, this may not work out, but then something better can come my way. And that applies to people, places, situations, work, business, everything. It applies to that kind of reframing and mentality. Remind yourself of your worth so that when you're rejected, it doesn't hit hard and, trigger the feelings of worthlessness and, feeling inadequacy. So remind yourself of your worth, work on your self-worth, work on your self-belief and your self-esteem, work on those things. I have several classes and courses and programs on my website, www.drstemi.com. You'll find many programs because I have dedicated myself to doing many programs where you can do it in your own pace and, learn about yourself, retelling your story and relearning about what your strengths and weaknesses are. I also do individual and group coaching where we can talk one-on-one, because each person's story is different and each person's way of learning is different. And I totally understand that. So you can get those courses, and also in addition to that, add on a moment where we can work, one-on-one. But the courses themselves, they're audios and videos where it's almost like you really are talking to me. So I hope you can check that out, because it's important for you to have that confidence in who you are. Building up your self-confidence and self-worth can also help you remember that you are entirely worthy of respect, of being loved, of being valued, and worthy of love. You are worthy. And mostly, you are meant to be free, to be you, and to be the best version of yourself at all times. So to end this audio, I wanted to also share with you some questions that you can ask yourself when you're facing the fear of anything, any situation. Ask yourself these questions. What is the worst thing that can happen? Am I really scared of doing this, of saying this, of experiencing this pain because of my fear of rejection? If the answer is yes, then get back into those affirmations again, where you're affirming yourself to say, I am a good person. So is what I am thinking, true of this session? Because many a time when we're in that situation, our mind just takes us to the worst of the worst places. What am I really afraid of? Are my fears realistic? What will happen if I go ahead and try? What's the best thing that can happen? What are some opportunities that I can get if I started to have the courage to deal with this fear? And once you start going that route of having the best thing that could happen, the best thing that I can learn from this experience, it's just exhilarating to be able to feel that. So my hope is that you'll have the courage to love yourself even more and give it a try. Once again, my name is DrStem. You certainly can make comments below this here to see how you're dealing with a fear and any other things that you might want to share, because many people will be watching and listening to this, and you never know who you can help. Remember, I said my whole thing is about inspiring others to also finding themselves to be able to inspire other people. And I learn from everyone. So please share what works for you, what has worked for you, what has not worked for you, so that we all can learn from each other. Visit the website, www.drstemy.com. And as I always say, be encouraged.